The ships came on a sunny Tuesday morning, 3 of them, big and silver and shaped like smooth teardrops. They hung in the sky over New York, Beijing, and London, silent and still. Everyone panicked at first. The army brought out tanks and missiles. TV shows stopped to show the ships. The internet filled with scared posts and wild ideas. Some people ran away from cities. Others ran toward the ships with cameras and signs. But the aliens did not attack. After 3 days of hanging in the sky, they sent a message to every phone, TV, and computer in the world. The message was simple: we come to learn. The world leaders met quickly. They sent messages back to the ships. After many careful talks, the aliens agreed to send down just 3 of their kind to meet humans. They picked a small town in Ohio called Riverdale for the meeting. No one knew why they picked this place. It was just a normal town with farms, a small downtown area, and about 5,000 people. Steve Carson ran the best diner in Riverdale. The Blue Plate Special was a simple place that served good, honest food. Nothing fancy, just eggs and bacon for breakfast, burgers and fries for lunch, and meatloaf or fried chicken for dinner. Steve had run the place for 20 years after taking over from his dad. On the day the aliens were set to land, Steve opened his diner as usual. He did not think the aliens would come to his small place. He figured they would meet the mayor or the army generals in the big field outside town. At 10:43 that morning, while Steve was flipping pancakes, the bell over his door rang. He looked up to see 2 men in black suits, sunglasses, and earpieces. Government men. "Mr. Carson?" one asked. "That's me," Steve said, wiping his hands on his apron. "We need to close your diner for the day," the man said. "Special visitors." Before Steve could ask what that meant, the door opened again. 3 tall figures stood there. They were not what Steve expected aliens to look like. They stood about 7 feet tall and had light purple skin that seemed to glow a little. Their faces looked almost human, but with big, round eyes that were all black. No white parts, no hair on their heads. Their hands had 6 long fingers. The diner went silent. The few morning customers froze with forks halfway to their mouths. The tallest alien stepped forward. It wore a simple gray outfit that looked like a jumpsuit. Around its neck was a small silver box. "Greetings," said a voice from the box. "I am Speaker Null. With me are Observer Trell and Scientist Vex. We are Ardlans." Steve stood still for a moment, then remembered his manners. "I'm Steve Carson, this is my diner." The alien called Null looked around the room slowly. "We have studied your world from our ships. We have learned your languages and watched your television and internet. But we do not understand something important." Steve waited. The government men looked nervous. "We do not understand why humans gathered to consume nutrition together," Null said. "Our scientists say you could take simple nutrition pills, yet you spend much time preparing and sharing food. We wish to understand this." Steve blinked. Of all the things aliens might want to know, they wanted to know about eating together? "Well," he said slowly, "food is more than just nutrition to us. It's about taste and pleasure and spending time together." The 3 aliens looked at each other. The one called Vex made some clicking sounds. "We would like to experience this," Null said. "May we consume food here, in this gathering place?" One of the government men stepped closer to Steve. "Mr. Carson, the aliens have asked to experience American cuisine as part of cultural exchange. Your diner was selected because satellite data shows it has the highest customer satisfaction rating in a 50-mile radius." Steve felt pride rise in his chest at that. His dad would have been happy to hear it. "Sure," he said to the aliens. "Have a seat. I'll cook you up something good." The government men helped the aliens sit in a booth. They seemed unsure how to bend their long legs under the table. The few other customers in the diner watched with wide eyes. Steve went back to his grill, thinking hard. What do you cook for beings from another world? He decided to start simple. The breakfast special: pancakes, eggs, bacon, and hash browns. While he cooked, the aliens watched everything. They seemed interested in the sizzling sounds and the smells filling the diner. One of them, Trell, took out a small device and held it over the grill, probably taking readings or pictures. When Steve brought the plates to their table, The aliens stared at the food. "You must explain how to consume this," Nal said. Steve showed them how to hold forks and knives. He showed them how to pour maple syrup on the pancakes. He showed them how to cut the food into small pieces. The aliens tried the food slowly and carefully. Their faces did not show much feeling, but Steve noticed. Their skin color changed slightly, becoming more blue than purple. "This pancake has an interesting texture," Vex said, "and the sweet liquid adds another dimension. The bacon has 64 distinct chemical compounds that create its flavor profile," Trell added. Nal chewed thoughtfully on some egg. "I understand. Now why you do not use nutrition pills? This experience engages multiple senses." Steve found himself smiling. "That's just breakfast. Wait until you try my apple pie." For the next 2 hours, Steve cooked different foods for the aliens while the government men watched nervously. The aliens tried hamburgers, fries, milkshakes, and finally apple pie with vanilla ice cream. When they tasted the pie, something strange happened. All 3 aliens' skin turned bright blue. They made soft humming sounds. "This creates a pleasure response in our brains that we did not expect," Nal said. "The combination of textures, temperatures, and flavors is complex." After they finished eating, the aliens stood up. Nal turned to Steve. "Steve Carson, we have made an important discovery here today. Our species stopped eating food in this manner 500 years ago. We take nutrition directly through skin absorption now. It is efficient, but—" Nal paused. "We see now that we have lost something valuable." The alien reached out a 6-fingered hand. "We would like to return tomorrow. We would like to learn more about this cooking and dining together. This may be more important than any other discovery on your planet." Steve shook the alien's hand, feeling its smooth, cool skin. "Sure thing, I'll be here." As the aliens left with their government escorts, Steve started cleaning up the dishes. He had a feeling his life had just changed forever. Tomorrow, he would teach aliens how to make pancakes. And somehow, that seemed like the most important job in the world. Outside, the silver ships still hung in the sky, but they didn't seem as scary anymore. The next day, Steve woke up early. He could not believe what had happened. He had fed aliens in his diner, real aliens from space. He wondered if they would really come back. He got to the diner at 5 in the morning to start preparing. He wanted to show the aliens more foods today. He made lists and checked his supplies. He would need more eggs, more flour, more everything. By 7, his workers Larry and Deb had arrived. They seemed nervous. "Is it true?" Deb asked. "Are they really coming back here?" "That's what they said," Steve told her. He showed her the special menu he had planned. At 9, sharp black cars pulled up outside the diner. The government men came in first, checking the place. Then the 3 aliens entered. "Greetings, Steve Carson," Nal said through the translation box. "As promised, we have returned." Today the diner was full. Word had spread fast in the small town. Every table was taken, and people stood outside looking through the windows. Everyone wanted to see the aliens. "I have prepared more foods for you to try," Steve said. "But today I thought maybe you might want to learn how to cook, not just eat." The aliens looked at each other. Their skin shifted colors slightly. "This would be valuable research," Vex said, "to understand the process fully." Steve led them to the kitchen. The government men tried to follow, but Steve shook his head. "Too many people in my kitchen is a safety problem," he said firmly. "You can watch from there." The government men did not look happy, but they stayed back. In the kitchen, Steve tied clean aprons around the aliens. Their tall, thin bodies made this look funny, but no one laughed. This was serious business. "Today we will make pancakes," Steve said. "A simple food, but good to start with." He showed them how to measure flour, sugar, and baking powder. He showed them how to crack eggs without getting shells in the batter. He showed them how to mix everything together. The aliens were very careful. They measured exactly. Their 6-fingered hands moved with great care. "Why do humans not use measuring machines?" Trell asked. "This method seems imprecise." "Cooking isn't always about being exact," Steve explained. "Sometimes it's about feeling and tasting as you go." My grandma never measured anything, but her food was the best I ever ate. This seemed to confuse the aliens, but they kept working. When it was time to cook the pancakes, Steve showed them how to pour the batter onto the hot griddle and wait for bubbles before flipping. Vex made the first alien pancake. It was not round, but shaped more like a star. Still, it cooked well. "I have created food," Vex said, skin turning bright blue. "This is satisfying." Soon all three aliens were making pancakes. They learned quickly. By the end, their pancakes looked as good as Steve's. They took their pancakes out to a table and sat down to eat them. The crowd in the diner watched closely. "These taste different from yesterday's pancakes," Nall noted. "Because you made them yourselves," Steve said. "Food often tastes better when you cook it yourself." The aliens discussed this idea in their clicking language. They seemed very interested in this concept. After breakfast, more government people arrived. Men and women in suits who looked important. They talked with the aliens for a long time. Then Nall approached Steve again. "We have made a request to your leaders," Nall said. "We wish to extend our visit. We wish to learn more about cooking and eating together." One of the government women stepped forward. "Mr. Carson, the Ardalans have specifically requested to continue working with you. This is now a matter of international diplomacy. Would you be willing to host them for the next 2 weeks?" Steve thought about it. His diner was small. This would be disruptive. But how often does someone get to teach aliens to cook? "Yes," he said. "But we'll need to close the diner to regular customers, and I'll need help getting supplies." The government. People agreed to everything. They would pay him well. They would bring whatever he needed. For the next 3 days, Steve taught the aliens more recipes. They learned to make scrambled eggs, bacon, hash browns, and toast. They learned to make sandwiches and soups. They learned to bake cookies. On the 4th day, Nall made an announcement. "We have sent information about our experiences to our ship. Our leaders are very interested. They wish to join us." Steve nearly dropped the pot he was holding. "More aliens? Here?" "Yes," Nall said. "Our High Council, 7 more Ardalans. They wish to experience this cooking and eating together that has so changed our understanding." The government people looked worried. They made many phone calls. They talked about security and protocols. Steve just kept cooking. He would need to plan a special meal for the alien leaders. 2 days later, a smaller silver ship landed in the field outside town. The alien High Council arrived in more black cars. They were taller than Nall's group, and their skin was darker purple. They wore more decorated jumpsuits with symbols Steve did not understand. The lead counselor was named Zev. He spoke directly to Steve. "Steve Carson, our researchers have shared remarkable findings. They say you have shown them something our civilization lost long ago. We wish to experience this ourselves." Steve had prepared his best meal: roast chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, fresh bread, and apple pie. Simple food, but made with care. As they ate, the aliens asked many questions. Why? Did humans grow their own food when machines could do it? Why did families cook together? Why did recipes pass down through generations? Steve answered as best he could. "Food connects us," he explained. "To each other, to our past, to the earth. When my dad taught me to make this pie, he was giving me more than a recipe. He was giving me part of our family history." The aliens listened carefully. Their skin changed colors as they ate, shifting from purple to blue to green and back. After the meal, Zev stood up. "Steve Carson, you have shown us something profound. Our species abandoned natural food 500 years ago. We thought it was progress to move beyond the need to grow and cook food. We thought it made us more advanced." The alien paused, looking at the empty plates. "We were wrong," Zev said. "In our quest for efficiency, we lost connection. We lost ritual. We lost pleasure. We lost something important to intelligent life." The room went quiet. Everyone could feel that something big was happening. "We must reconsider our path," Zev continued. "Perhaps in our rush to advance, we left behind wisdom we should have kept." Steve did not know what to say. He was just a diner cook from Ohio. He never thought he would change how aliens thought about life. Zev turned to the government officials. "We wish to learn more. We wish to study all human food cultures. We wish to understand this connection to food that we have lost. And just like that, everything changed. What started as a simple breakfast in a small-town diner had become the most important first contact in human history, not based on technology or weapons or power, but based on pancakes, fried eggs, and apple pie. 1 week later, Steve's diner looked very different. The government had closed off the whole street. Big men with guns stood outside. News vans lined up down the block. People from all over the world had come to the small town to see the aliens. But inside, Steve kept working. He now had 6 aliens in his kitchen every day. The original 3, Nal, Trell, and Vex, plus 3 members of the High Council who had stayed behind. The others had gone to visit other countries to learn about their food. Today we will learn about growing food, Steve said. He had asked for help from Sam Wilson, a local farmer. Sam brought boxes of soil, seeds, and small plants. He set them up on tables in the diner. This is wheat, Sam explained, showing a small green plant. This becomes flour, which becomes bread. The aliens touched the plant gently with their 6-fingered hands. On our world, we stopped growing plants for food long ago, Counselor Zev said. We created machines to make perfect nutrition compounds. Nothing wrong with progress, Sam said. But there's something special about growing your own food, watching it come up from the ground, knowing you helped make it. The aliens practiced planting seeds in the soil. They measured water carefully. They asked many questions about sunlight, seasons, and how long plants took to grow. Your way is slow, Vex said. Our nutrition production is instant. Slow isn't always bad, Steve replied. Sometimes the waiting makes the reward better. In the afternoon, they visited Sam's farm. The aliens walked through fields of corn and beans. They saw cows and chickens. They picked tomatoes from vines. Your people still touch the earth, Zev said. You are still connected to your planet in a direct way. That evening, they cooked a meal using vegetables from the farm. The aliens had become better cooks. Their knife skills were excellent. They measured perfectly. What they still struggled with was taste, knowing when something needed more salt or when the bread was baked just right. Trust your senses, Steve kept telling them. Cooking isn't just following rules, it's feeling what's right. After dinner, Nal made an announcement. Our main ship has sent a message. They are sending a special visitor tomorrow. The life designer, Steve. Looked at the government people who seemed confused. Who is the life designer? He asked. The one who created our nutrition system, Zev explained. 500 years ago, it was the life designer who helped our species move beyond natural food. It was considered our greatest advancement. The next day, a new alien arrived. This one looked older somehow, though Steve couldn't say exactly how he knew this. Its purple skin was paler, and it moved more slowly. Around its neck hung not just a translator box, but many small devices. I am Life Designer Mev, it said. I have come to see what has caused such interest among our leadership. Steve felt nervous. This alien had created the very system that had replaced cooking and eating. Would it be angry that Steve was showing the aliens a different way? The life designer watched quietly as Steve taught the other aliens to make bread. The process took hours. Mixing, kneading, waiting for the dough to rise, shaping, baking. The smell of fresh bread filled the diner. When the bread came out of the oven, golden brown and crusty, the aliens broke it open. Steam rose up. They ate it warm with butter. What do you think? Steve asked the life designer. Inefficient, Mev said. Hours of work for minutes of nutrition. Steve's heart sank. But, the life designer continued, there is something here I did not calculate in my systems. The time spent creating food together, the sharing of work, the anticipation, the sensory experience, the variations that come from imperfect human hands. Mev broke off another piece of bread. 500 years ago, I believed I was advancing our species by removing the need for food preparation and consumption. I created a perfect nutrition system that gave our bodies exactly what they needed. No waste, no effort. The life designer looked around the kitchen. I did not consider what else might be lost. The cultural exchange, the sensory pleasure, the connection to growing worlds. That night, the life designer asked many questions. How had cooking developed on Earth? Why did different regions have different foods? How did recipes change over time? What role did meals play in human relationships? The next morning, the life designer called all the aliens together in the diner. The government people were there too, looking worried as always. I have made an analysis, Mev announced. Our species took a wrong turn. In our quest for perfect efficiency, we removed an essential part of intelligent life, the connection to our sustenance. We must reconsider this path. The other alien's skin changed colors rapidly, showing excitement or surprise. What do you propose? Zev asked. We must learn from humans, Mev said. We must reintroduce natural food cultivation, preparation, and consumption to our civilization, not to replace our nutrition systems entirely, but to restore what was lost. The government, people started whispering to each other. This was big news. Steve Carson, Mev turned to Steve. Will you help us? Will you share your knowledge with our world? Steve couldn't believe what he was hearing. Me? I just run a small diner. I'm not a food expert or a scientist. But you understand the heart of food, Mev said. The connection it creates, the joy it brings, the culture it carries. This is what we need to learn. Steve thought about it. Teaching aliens to cook, maybe even visiting their world someday. It was crazy, but also amazing. Yes, he said. I'll help. The life designer's announcement changed everything. The aliens' ships sent messages to their home world. Soon, more ships arrived in Earth's orbit, not to invade, but to learn. Teams of aliens visited farms, restaurants, and home kitchens all over Earth. They studied different cuisines, farming methods, and food traditions. They recorded everything, taking recipes and techniques back to their ships. But they always came back to Steve's diner. It remained the center of their food education. 1 month after the aliens first arrived, they invited Steve to a special meeting. The diner had been closed to the public for weeks now, used only for the alien food studies. But today, the aliens had asked to use the kitchen themselves. When Steve arrived, he found the aliens busy cooking. They had prepared dishes from all over Earth: Italian pasta, Indian curry, Japanese sushi, Mexican tacos, and more. But they had also created new dishes, mixing Earth ingredients in ways Steve had never seen before. We wish to share our learning, Zev said, and to thank you for what you have taught us. The meal was amazing. The aliens had become good cooks. They had learned to trust their senses, to experiment, to feel the joy of creating food. After dinner, the life designer stood up. Steve Carson, we have an invitation for you. We wish you to visit our world, to help us teach our people what you have taught us, to help us remember what we forgot. Steve looked around his small diner, now the most famous restaurant in the world. His simple life had become extraordinary, all because he had shown some hungry aliens how to make pancakes. When do we leave? He asked. Steve stood in his bedroom trying to decide what to pack. How do you pack for a trip to another planet? No human had ever done this before. The government had given him some special clothes. They said these would help him if the air on the alien planet was different. They also gave him small pills to take that would protect him from getting sick. Just pack normal clothes too, the scientist named Dr. Adams had told him. And bring cooking tools. That's why they want you there. So Steve packed his favorite knives, his special wooden spoons, and his old notebook full of recipes. He packed jeans and t-shirts. He packed seeds from Sam's farm. His family and friends had mixed feelings. They were proud, but scared. What if you can't come back? His sister Kate asked. The aliens promised I would return in 3 months, Steve said. They've been honest so far. On the day of the trip, the whole town came to see him off. The silver ship landed in the big field outside town. It was smaller than the main ship still floating high above Earth, but it was still bigger than Steve's whole diner. The ship opened from the bottom, and a ramp came down. Nall stood there waiting. "Are you ready, Steve Carson?" the alien asked. Steve looked back at his town one last time, then nodded. "Ready." Inside, the ship was clean and bright. The walls glowed with soft light. There were no sharp edges anywhere. Everything was smooth and rounded. "This will be your room." Nall showed him to a space about the size of his bedroom at home. "We have tried to make it comfortable for a human." The bed was too long, clearly made for the taller aliens, but otherwise it looked nice. "How long will the trip take?" Steve asked. 3 of your Earth days," Nall said. "Our home system is not far from yours." During the trip, Steve spent most of his time in what the aliens called the food lab. It was like a kitchen, but very different. Instead of stoves and ovens, there were strange machines with glowing panels. Instead of refrigerators, there were walls with small doors that opened to show perfectly stored ingredients. The aliens had brought Earth foods for the trip. Steve taught cooking classes every day. He showed them how to make simple dishes: rice with vegetables, chicken soup, fresh bread. "Your cooking methods are very different from our nutrition systems," Vex observed. "You use heat in many different ways." "Cooking is about transformation," Steve explained, taking raw ingredients and making them into something new. On the 3rd day, Nall came to find Steve. "We are approaching our world. You should come see." Steve followed the alien to a room at the front of the ship. It had a large window that showed the space ahead. A planet was growing larger as they got closer. The planet looked like Earth in some ways. It had blue oceans and land with green and brown areas, but the green was more blue-green, and there were large purple spots that Steve guessed might be forests of alien plants. "Ardala," Nall said. "Our home." The ship landed in a city. The buildings were tall and curving, made of something that looked like glass, but wasn't. They reflected the light of the planet's sun, which was orange rather than yellow like Earth's. Many aliens waited for them. A large crowd of purple-skinned beings stood watching as Steve walked down the ramp with Nall and the others. "They are curious," Zev explained. "You are the first human to visit our world." Steve was taken to a large building in the center of the city. Inside was a big room set up like a kitchen and dining area. It had been made to look like an Earth kitchen, with stoves and refrigerators and counters. It wasn't exactly right. The counters were too high, the chairs too big, but it was close. "This will be your teaching space," Mev, the life designer, said. "We have gathered students from across our world to learn from you." The next day, Steve met his students. 20 aliens who had been chosen to learn Earth cooking. They were scientists, teachers, and what the aliens called cultural preservers, people who kept records of their history. "Before we start," Steve said, "I need to understand how you all eat now. Show me your current food system." The aliens took him to another building. This one was full of machines. In one room, aliens stood in small booths. They pressed buttons, and a fine mist sprayed onto their skin. "This is how we take nutrition," Vex explained. "The compounds are absorbed through our skin. It takes 30 seconds and provides perfect nutrition." "Do you ever eat with your mouths?" Steve asked. "Our species evolved with mouths for eating, like yours," Vex said. "But we now use them only for speaking and breathing. Our digestive systems still work but have grown less efficient with lack of use." In another room, Steve saw the machines that made the nutrition spray. They combined chemicals in exact amounts. "We've been using this system for 500 years, Mev said. It solved hunger, ended food inequality, and freed our people from food preparation time." "But at what cost?" Steve asked. The life designer looked sad. "At the cost of connection, of cultural traditions, of sensory joy." For the next week, Steve taught basic cooking skills to his alien students. They learned to chop vegetables, to measure ingredients, to use heat. They were quick learners, their 6-fingered hands good at delicate work, but they struggled with important parts of cooking. They didn't understand why some things couldn't be measured exactly. They didn't know how to tell when something looked right or smelled done. "Cooking isn't just science," Steve kept saying. "It's also art. It's feeling." Slowly, the aliens began to understand. By the second week, they were creating simple meals on their own. They learned to taste food and adjust seasonings. They learned to tell when bread was baked just right. At the end of each day, they all ate together at a big table. This was the hardest part for the aliens to understand. Why humans gathered to eat. We could consume nutrition separately, more efficiently, one student said. But then you miss the talking, the sharing, the connection that happens around a table, Steve explained. On the 15th day, something important happened. The aliens had prepared a meal by themselves, a dinner with foods from both Earth and Ardala. They had figured out how to cook some of their native plants in Earth ways. As they sat eating, one of the students, named Lith, suddenly stopped. I die. Remember, Lith said. The alien's skin turned bright blue. I remember from our ancient records, my family unit used to gather like this. Before the nutrition system, we prepared food together. We shared it, we talked at a table. Other aliens nodded. Their skin changed colors too. Our records show this, another said. Our ancestors ate together. The next day, more aliens came to watch the cooking class. Word had spread. Some older aliens brought ancient tools that looked like pots and knives, things that had been kept only in museums for hundreds of years. These were cooking tools, one elder explained. My family kept them as historical objects. We had forgotten their true purpose. Mev, the life designer, came to Steve that evening. You have started something unexpected, Mev said. Our people are remembering. They are finding old cooking tools, old recipes in our historical records. Things we thought were no longer important. Steve smiled. Food is memory. It connects us to our past. The life designer nodded. We are going to make changes. Big changes. We will not abandon our nutrition system completely. It is still efficient for busy times. But we will bring back cooking and eating together. We will grow food again. We will remember what we lost. And so, the aliens began to relearn what their ancestors had known. All because a diner cook from Earth had shown them the simple joy of making and sharing food. 3 months passed quickly on the alien world. Steve's classes grew larger each week. He now taught in a big room that could hold 100 aliens at once. The classes were also shown on screens all over the planet so more aliens could learn. The aliens had started growing food again. They turned old unused buildings into growing places with special lights. They planted the seeds Steve had brought from Earth. They also started growing their own native plants for food again. In the cities, small cooking rooms opened where aliens could go to practice making food. They called these places Earth rooms, after the planet where the idea came from. Some older aliens remembered more things from before the nutrition system. They found old family recipes in data storage. They shared stories of how their grandparents used to cook. Little by little, they were remembering their lost food culture. We never fully forgot, an elder named Kren told Steve. We just put it aside for so long that it began to seem like a dream. Steve's favorite part was watching the aliens learn to enjoy eating together. At first, they sat stiffly at tables, not sure what to do besides eat. Then they began to talk while eating. Then, they began to share food from their plates, to pour drinks for each other, to pass dishes around the table. Now you're getting it, Steve told them. This is what meals are really about. One day, near the end of Steve's time on Ardala, Mev, the life designer, invited him to a special event. We are opening the first true restaurant on our world in 500 years, Mev explained. We would like you to be there. The restaurant was in the capital city. It was designed to look a bit like Steve's diner, but with alien touches. The chairs and tables were made from a material that looked like purple wood. The kitchen was open so everyone could see the cooking. The cooks were Steve's original 20 students. They had prepared a menu that mixed Earth dishes with traditional Ardalan foods they had rediscovered. There was bread made with blue Ardalan, grain. There was a soup made from round root vegetables that tasted a bit like potatoes but sweeter. There was a dish of small fruits cooked with spices that reminded Steve of cinnamon. Many important aliens came to the opening. The High Council was there. Leaders from science, art, and education were there. They all sat at long tables together. Today marks a return to an old way, Zev announced to the room. but also the beginning of a new way. We will keep our nutrition system for times when it is needed. But we will also remember the joy of real food, prepared with care and shared with others. The meal lasted for hours. The aliens talked and laughed. Their skin changed colors as they tasted new foods and enjoyed the company. Steve watched with pride. He had helped make this happen. After the meal, Mev took Steve aside. "It is almost time for you to return to Earth," the life designer said. "But before you go, we have something to show you." They took a small flying vehicle to a building on the edge of the city. Inside, Steve found a large room filled with plants from Earth. Wheat, corn, tomatoes, apples, and more, all growing under special lights. "We are creating a seed bank," Mev explained, "to preserve Earth foods here on our world. But we also have something for you to take back." The life designer handed Steve a small silver box. Inside were hundreds of tiny compartments filled with seeds. "These are food plants from our world," Mev said. "They are safe for humans to eat. They can grow on Earth. This is our gift to your world." Steve touched the seeds gently. "This is a big deal. Our scientists will be excited." "There is one more gift," Zev said, joining them. "We have learned much from you about food, but we have much to offer Earth as well." The High Counselor showed Steve to another room. This one held strange machines, smaller versions of the nutrition system the aliens used. "We can help Earth end hunger," Zev explained. "These machines can create perfect nutrition for humans who need it, for times of disaster, for places where food is scarce." Steve thought about what this would mean. No one on Earth would ever have to starve again. "Our two worlds can help each other," Mev said. "You have shown us what we lost. We can help you with what you lack." On his last day on Ardala, Steve's alien students prepared a farewell dinner. They made all his favorite dishes from the past 3 months. They had become good cooks. "You have changed our world," Lith told him during the meal. "For hundreds of years, we thought we were moving forward by leaving food behind. Now we see. We were leaving behind something precious." Another student, Trell, added, "But we are not just going back to old ways. We are finding a new balance. Your Earth has taught us that progress does not mean leaving everything old behind." The next morning, Steve boarded the ship that would take him home. He carried the box of alien seeds and plans for the nutrition machines. Earth scientists would study these things. They would help people. As the ship rose from the surface of Ardala, Steve looked down at the alien world. He could see the new growing places spreading out from the cities. He could see the restaurant where his students worked, now with a line of aliens waiting to get in. Nal sat beside him. "Our historians will mark this time as important," the alien said. "The time when we remembered how to enjoy food again." Steve smiled. "On Earth we have a saying, the way to someone's heart is through their stomach. I guess that's true even for aliens." 3 days later, the ship landed on Earth in the same field where Steve had left. His family and friends were waiting. So were important people from governments and science. As Steve walked down the ramp carrying his gifts from another world, he thought about how strange life was. 6 months ago, he had been just a diner cook in a small town. Now he had changed, an alien civilization, and brought back technology that could help all of Earth. And it had all started with breakfast. With pancakes and eggs and bacon. With the simple act of feeding hungry visitors. Sometimes the most important things in life were also the simplest. Like sharing food with others. Steve stepped onto Earth soil, ready to share what he had learned. And more important, ready to get back into his kitchen and cook a good meal for the people he loved.